Hello, Paul Rayburn, real estate appraiser. And there's been a fair bit of focus on using um, nationally developed or larger aggregated market models, home price indexing. Um, and I just thought this was a good file to share this on. So this is our MLS provides this index here. Okay, so they've got home price index, and now this is this particular assignment is a one bedroom apartment. So I've got in this particular neighborhood, and we can see we've got, you can either have it in home price index (HPI) or benchmark price, and effectively they are the same thing. So the index is just indexed to 100% at the beginning of the data set. Um, so I like to show it in the benchmark price because it's effectively the same. So you've got HPI. This is whatever that is, about 8.5%, and it's going to be the same thing for the price. I just want to show how you, whenever possible, want to develop your own market analysis and not just rely on an MLS type price index. So going back just to show you where this data comes from. So they use a large model. They're using, effectively it's a national index, and they break it down through modeling algorithms right down to the neighborhoods, and they'll get it down to neighborhoods that haven't had sales for months on end, and they still will produce pricing. So by doing some relational indexing. But so here's all of the neighborhoods. I've filtered it down. In our case, they will give you a link to this file, so you can download that, and then you can find out, well, what is the benchmark building, what your unit, what is it, what are we analyzing here? So this helps you to understand that. So it's effectively, I filtered it down to that neighborhood, to the apartment, and that's what you get. And now the benchmark model is a 2-bed, and you can do this for anything, for single family or whatever, 2-bath, 5 total rooms, 1,036 square feet. This is what they say is the most, typical unit in that market, and that's what they index the pricing to every month. So it's good to know. It's good to know that. Good to compare that. Now, in this case, as I said, my subject is a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment, and this also showed that the average year built was 2004. Ours are built in the early 90s, so it's not exactly the same, and now we want to look at this. So just to get it overall, now just for some background, this is a divorce file. So it's fairly contentious. You want to make sure you've done all the analysis you can, provide as much insight as possible. So here we have here's when the marriage took place, and this is the one of the parties that they purchased the unit here. So that's irrelevant. We need to figure out the difference in value there. They sold it there. They may choose to rely on that as a date of value that they can use to adjust and make their settlement. Sometimes that's not the case, and we need to do a value there as well. Now here's a prior sale of the subject. Nobody was involved. None of the parties were involved in that sale. But there's a few things to note here. Just now, one thing is that the blue are the listings and the oranges are sales. So list sold, list sold. Now the subject was bought off market. It was not listed. It was bought by an unrepresented buyer who bought through an agent who became aware that the unit was coming up. So it was purchased before being exposed to the market, and we do not know how much market knowledge the buyer had. So is that a market value transaction? Well, it appears it sold certainly on the high. It sold above, it's a 3rd floor unit. These are 4th floor units. Now there isn't really strong evidence because here's a 4th floor unit. I did look at all these units. I looked at all the strata plans, the floor plan, the location of the buildings, where they're at. They're all reasonably similar. And there was no strong correlation for, you know, fourth floor units, for example, which is the top floor. Typically are generally higher, but there was not significant evidence here in this development. So so a couple things. So if we're looking at back to the HPI, and are we going to put all our eggs in the HPI basket? No. So if we're looking at maybe this prior sale, just for an example, things sold for around 200,000 then, and we're close to 500,000 now, right? We're at about 500,000. So would that be like that's a 250% increase? And if we said this was about 150,000 back in here, and sorry, it's a little bit confusing because I overlaid graphically this HPI data because I don't have it in a format that I can easily plug into the other model. But anyways, so if we go from 150,000 to maybe just under or right around 350, so that's about 233%, 2.3-ish times. So that's about a 17% difference. That's a fairly big number. Now we're talking $50,000-$60,000, worthy of some analysis. Now, of course, it's not going to be that much over this time period, and we can analyze that a little further, but that's not my intention here. Is just to bring that to your attention. And also, and if I didn't point it out already, the blue are the listings and orange are the sales. Now, these are listings that didn't sell, so they expired, didn't sell. Possibly if we didn't have any sales in this time period, so probably the market would have followed a little closer to the benchmark. I think the benchmarks do highlight that fairly well, but certainly not to this extreme. And that's the next point I wanted to make is, so you've got here like almost a 10% shift just in this 1 month, and then back up almost about 9%. So month and then back down 8% or whatever, and back up, again, another 9% shift. Now this is, most real estate analyst experts generally agree that markets themselves are not shifting this quickly. This has to do with, average pricing, median pricing, and even benchmark pricing. And it's that effect of compositional shift in the data that causes these significant differences. And buyers and sellers are not typically changing their minds that quickly, month over month. Sure, over long periods of time, and this type of shift here, it gives some idea of what happened. This is obviously the pandemic shift here. So, and then just briefly, this was a kind of an area of reasonably stable sale prices. Of course, we now start getting into the pandemic, but what's happening here? Why is this increasing and seemingly this is declining? Well, is this being pulled up by other market factors? Their model is maybe too large. We know single-family larger homes further out of town were increasing at a greater rate than apartment buildings that like the subject during that time. So, maybe you want to keep that in mind when we're analyzing this data. So that's the gist of what I was getting at is if at all possible, try and develop your own market condition adjustments or analysis anyway, and to help maybe qualify some of that additional data you may be looking at. And as always, I strongly recommend taking George Dell's course, Stats, Graphs, Data Science. Join the community of Assett Analysts, where we help each other to build up tools and methodologies, and learn more about becoming and maintaining the impartial expert in the real estate valuation industry. Thanks for joining in, and as always, please reach out if any questions. Please contact me and let me know. I'm happy to help answer questions or help you get to the next level or collaborate on some things. So thanks again.